man. I'll do what I do.
Michelin maps. A mosque and a mausoleum were built on his gravesite and is still intact today. So this was a very important man. But what I want you guys, I want to read a little bit more about this so you guys can understand. Again, the man we're talking about today, his name was Abdullah ibn Yassin, and he led the Almoravids in the effort to spread Islam through conquest. What does that mean? We're going to beat you up and make you take this Islam. That's what we're going to do. After his death in 1059, the Almoravids went on to take Morocco and founded Marrakech, which became their capital. The Almoravids also captured parts of southern Spain where they were called Moors. Remember, the Almoravids are Moor. The Almoravids aimed to spread Islamic traditions through the northern African and Al-Andalus, which was Islamic Spain at the time. The dynasty was initiated and first led by Yahya ibn Abram from the Lamunta tribe of the Sahara in 1040. Okay. In the mid 12th century, the Almoravids were replaced by the Almohads from 1150 to 1269, a new Berber dynasty from North Africa. So these were just more Moors. It was just more Africans running up in there, taking over Spain. This is what they were doing. Okay. But it's important that you understand the context of this. Let's read on a little bit more. And again, we talked about Mansa Musa. Remember when he returned? This is in the 1300s. So trying to paint a picture here, all right? And trying to paint a picture. Well, let me finish this. And what we need to understand is they did not see themselves as Africans per se. They saw themselves as, yes, we're Africans, but we are also Muslims, and they saw their religion before their race or their color. You see, this is the thing you got to understand. And so when they sold other Black people into slavery, they were selling people who didn't worship the same God. They were selling heathens into slavery. This is what they were doing. And this all starts way back in the 1050s, okay, with theologians like Abdullah ibn Yassin, and then you move all the way up to Ahmed Baba al of Timbuktu, okay? And remember, Ahmed Baba made an effort to end racial slavery and criticize the association of Black Africans with slaves, which particularly criticizing some Muslims adopting the narrative of the curse of Ham. Basically, what he was saying was, hey, not all Black Africans are slaves. Some of us are Muslims. And you can't just say just because we're Black that we're subject to the curse of Ham. No, we are, we're Muslims first. And so this was a way in which he tried to save some of his brothers. Now, of course, we're talking about Ahmed Baba, but the legacy began with Abdullah ibn Yassin. Okay, keep that in mind. In regards to enslavement of Africans in 1615, Ahmed Baba discussed the legitimate reasons of how and why one could become a slave. So he was okay with enslaving Africans, just not Muslim Africans, just like Africans who were Muslim. The driving force, the driving force mainly being religious and ethnic, where that if one came from a country with a Muslim government or identified with a specific Muslim ethnic group, then they could not be slaves. In other words, it didn't matter what your color was. It didn't matter that you were an African, a dark-skinned African. It mattered whether your government was Muslim or you identified with specific Muslim ethnic groups. So you could see how back then, many of the countries who didn't want their people stolen would say, well, we're Muslim. But we've already read that, yeah, Islam was a religion for the town, but the country people typically worshiped and celebrated their own traditional beliefs. You see? So yeah, you had Muslims in those people who were stolen and brought to America. But what I'm starting to believe is the vast majority of them were non-Muslims. The vast majority of them were Africans who celebrated their own spiritual identity and own spiritual belief that was organic to their West African roots. Let's see what else. He claimed that if a person was an unbeliever or a kafara, then that is the sole factor for their enslavement, along with that being the will of God. Okay, so he didn't have a problem with Africans being enslaved. He had a problem with Muslims who were African, black Muslims being enslaved. So keep that in mind. And this reaches all the way back to Abdullah ibn Yasin. So this is a very important thing. This is a complicated question, but it goes to answer some of the things that we've been talking about. We always want to understand African history. How did it happen? How did we become slaves? We realized from our conversations last week that it was other Africans running into the interior. It was other Africans running into the hinterland, kidnapping Africans. Well, how did they know who to take? How did they know who to get? Who let the rules out? White men weren't doing it. It was us doing it. It was very organized at a certain point. So anybody who's interested in having this conversation, come on in. I'd love to have you guys come in. And let's talk about it. All right. Let me see here. Some other stuff we need to know. Remember, when he was trying to proselytize, imposing these principles, Islam on these folks, what were they doing? Rather than give up their traditional practices, the Berbers denounced Ibn Yasin and his preaching. Discouraged by his failure, Ibn Yasin withdrew with a small group of loyal followers to Senegal Island. There, he established a rabat, or monastery fortress, whose inhabitants, give me a second, whose inhabitants, let me see, whose inhabitants gave their lives to religious instruction and devotion and to holy war against the infidels. This combination of religious instruction, military discipline, and communal life directed from the Rabat was as noteworthy for its success as his previous preaching was remarkable for its failure. In other words, trying to get those Berbers to convert over to Islam, that didn't work. But and that was a big failure. But him being able to have this orderly thing going on over here with his own little Rabat in this Senegalese island, oh my God, that was remarkable. People were like, wow, that's amazing. In spite of the fact that the rules which Ibn Yasin imposed on his followers were strict, and the corporal punishments which he personally inflicted for infraction severe, his adherents soon numbered in the thousands, enough to subdue those very Berbers who had rejected his teachings. So look at this man. This man is whooping people himself. He's getting them in line. If you appreciate this conversation, hit the #1 button. We could talk about all kinds of different stuff, but I think it's important for you to understand your history as Black men. I think it's very important for this. We was just captured from Africa 500 years ago. We got to dispel that. We got to have facts. We have to have names. We've talked about Abdullah ibn Yasin. We've talked about Ahmed Baba el Timbuktu. We talk about Mansa Musa and his scholars. These are the type of things. This is your history. Just like you know about Henry VIII, just like you know about King Louis XIV. You know all these names. You know about Michelangelo. You know about all these different people, but you don't know anything about your own African history and the places that you came from. You should know these names as well as you know Leonardo da Vinci. These are people that are important to you. How did you get here? By what structure did you get here? You got to the Americas because of the rulings that these religious leaders who were Muslim set out. This is important. If you appreciate what I'm doing, make sure you contribute to the Super Chat, the Cash App, and the PayPal. Okay? Make sure you contribute to the Super Chat, the Cash App, and the PayPal. I'm trying to condense all this in. I think it's important. I hope you guys realize how important this is. It's enlightening. I grew up, and all they told us is Black people were captured from Africa. They didn't say who did it, why, what the structure was. Is there a back reason? This is us learning on our own so that our children won't be befuddled and fooled. See, we have the whole story now. See, this wasn't white men running up into these countries, okay, running into the inland, stealing Black folks. This was other Africans do it. These Muslims, these Black Muslims put their stamp of approval on it. These people are heathens. They worship these, Malayan secret. They got these secret gods, all this stuff. Yeah, they're not like us. You can capture them, take them overseas. You can take them to Saudi Arabia. You know, yeah, we don't want you to believe that being African is synonymous with being a slave, but being a non-Muslim, yeah, it's God's will. This is what these theologians are saying. It's right here in Wikipedia. I got the links below. These are the references. You can read it for yourself. You don't even have to look for it. It's right there for you. That's why I put references down there. So now, there was little doubt that the opportunity which Ibn Yasin gave the tribesmen for raiding and the taking of booty, that's valuable things, lent his doctrines an attraction which they had lacked at first. In other words, look, y'all go out and rob, y'all can keep whatever you get. Cool, no problem. That made them want to join his group. Yeah, I want to be a Muslim too. You mean we get to get out and rob people in the name of God? Oh yeah, we bought that life. About 1055, Ibn Yasin felt his forces were strong enough to undertake the conquest of the urban centers of Morocco and Ghana. So this is pretty much a large section of the west coast of Africa. So now they're what? These people had their own Morocco and Ghana. They had their own leadership. But these Muslims, these Muslims from these black men, they said, well, we're going to take over in the name of God, basically, in the name of Allah. It's indicative of the increasing importance of warfare and the Almoravid movement, and that he turned over the leadership of the armies to one of his earliest followers, Yahya ibn Umar, retaining for himself the direction of spiritual and civil affairs. With this, so basically, these people were becoming warlike. Okay, this is part of the religious fervor, discipline, piety, religion. They were becoming warlike tribes. This is what they were doing. They were becoming war. They basically had war camps set up. Now, what did he do? With this division of command, expeditions were sent against the Salaja Mazat, the north, and Gosta in the south. The motives of attacking the Sijala Masat were probably complex. Ostensibly, religion provided the occasion for the attack, inasmuch as a group of religious scholars had complained to Ibn Yasin that they were being persecuted by the ruler of the city. In other words, we don't believe in all that Muslim stuff that you guys are talking about. And so what did that call for him to do? Ibn Yasin said, well, Abdullah ibn Yasin, so that was the reason. We're going to use that as one of the reasons why we're going to attack these people. Okay? The tribal feelings were probably involved too, since the Berbers ruling the city belonged to the Zeneta Confederation, while the Almoravids were Senjaha. So now you got these Muslims who are actually from a different tribe than these Zenatas who are from a different tribe.
And I'm gonna keep showing the world what black
you were tuned in to one of the best black men advocated podcasts on YouTube. Show some love for the one and only black professional. Keep it real
and be Superman.
You would tune in to Dennis Podcast. Keep it moving, mama's favorite of the lovely ladies. All these YouTube men dressed for the occasion, even though he on the internet. Intellect beat you up in court and probably fist to fist. Been around the world, high value. Girl, you can't relate it. Been debated. Godfather endorsed, scared. Kevin said it. Independent black businessman. Yeah, he hood related. Probably wouldn't know a big bass. Appreciate it. Talk to me and I talk back. He can litigate it. Walk with me as we talk facts. He opinionated. Staying true. He not only talking, checking court dockets. Only YouTuber putting real money in my pockets. LA back to Houston, taking off. Some Houston Rockets, big O in the middle. I'm Elijah Wan, let's get it poppin'. Championships, we want championships. Keep the manuscript, loyalty and brotherhood. Watch out who you're hanging with. Hit that subscribe button. Yeah, y'all know what it is. DennisSpurling podcast. One of the realest. One of the realest in the game. Let's get to it. All my lovely ladies, y'all know what it is. Show some love. Yeah, hit that like button. Subscribe right now. On our way to 100,000. Let's get it. You would tune in in to the one, if not the best, on these YouTube streets. We call him DennisSpurling. You sit back and hate watch, clocking everything he do and say, but you yelling DennisSpurling. Show some love, ain't enough going round for a black man putting it down. We talking DennisSpurling. Taking over 2025, ain't no lies. Pull up, tell all of your guys we watching DennisSpurling. You tune in to the one, if not the best, on these YouTube streets. We call him DennisSpurling. You sit back and hate watch, clocking everything he do and say, but you yelling DennisSpurling. Show some love, ain't enough going round for a black man putting it down. We talking DennisSpurling. Taking over 2025, ain't no lies. Pull up, tell all of your guys we watching DennisSpurling.
This is Uncle D, and as I always said this time, I'm out.
Almost to 10,000 followers. I want to say thank you to you guys. You know, God has something in store for me, and I'm going to continue to say yes.
Smooth operator. Come on, everybody. Smooth operator. Smooth operator. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.